So we're going to continue through this Psalms series today. And today, last week we were in Psalms 131. And this week we're going to take a step backwards and do Psalms 130. Okay, so there's really no particular order here. We're not going progressively through the Psalms. We've just hand-selected some that we thought would be really helpful for us during this season. Last week I talked so much about, I just talked about all kinds of things last year, 1905 and how word traveled and what it looks like now to receive information versus back, not that long ago. But today I want to talk just for a few minutes before we continue in the Psalms about the Psalms and why they're important. If you've heard me say this before, at least the last half decade, maybe a little bit more, but at least the last half decade, I basically spend every morning with the Psalms. I read them every day. And that's easy for me. They've really, over time, deeply connected with my heart. And I'm not a wake up and journal person in the morning. I'm not a wake up and write out my prayers or do anything very aggressive like that, like some people are. I am more of a wake up and I'm trying to articulate the words for the day, and I'm trying to think through and center myself in the morning before I really get started. So I've made this practice, which it took a lot of me falling on my face and realizing my dependence for God daily in the morning. But once he got me to that place, it's become a bit of a routine and an easier discipline for me now to let the Psalms just read through me every morning. Even if it's just one psalm, I like for them to read through me every morning. And they give language to prayers that we might not know how to pray, or they might give us language for a prayer that we should pray, or they shape and shift our heart. But they're so connected biblically. The Psalms are just all over the Bible. They're all over the New Testament. And three people that I quote very often, C.S. Lewis, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, some of you, and Tim Keller, okay, the late, great Tim Keller. They all wrote books reflecting on the Psalms. All three of them sat down, and the Psalms were so important to them that all three of them published a personal work on the Psalms and their interaction with the Psalms. And Tim Keller in his book said this: "The Psalms lead us to do what the psalmists do, to commit ourselves to God through pledges and promises, to depend on God through petition and expressions of acceptance, to seek comfort in God through lament and complaint, to find mercy from God through confession and repentance, to gain new wisdom and perspective from God through meditation, remembrance, and reflection. The Psalms also help us see God not as we wish or hope him to be, but as he actually reveals himself. The descriptions of God in the Psalter are rich beyond human invention. He is more holy, more wise, more fearsome, more tender and loving than we would ever imagine him to be." And that was a book of reflections written by Tim and his wife, Kathy Keller. They wrote it together on the Psalms. So when we encounter God in the Psalms, we're not encountering this version of God that we have created, or this piecemealed, sort of sewn together version of God that we can be okay with or we can accept. We have to come to terms with God on God's terms. And we have to watch as David and the other psalmists wrestle with God in prayer, and wrestle with God in disappointment and discouragement, and wrestle with God in joy and victory, and all of the different ways that you could describe our lives. The Psalms articulate those things for us. Tim and Kathy go on to say, "What is essential in prayer is not that we learn to express ourselves, but that we learn to answer God. Most of all, the Psalms, read in light of the entire Bible, bring us to Jesus. The Psalms were Jesus' songbook. The hymns that Jesus sang at the Passover meal, with those references there, would have been the great Hallel, Psalms 113 through 118. Indeed, there is every reason to assume that Jesus would have sung all the Psalms constantly throughout his life, so that he knew them by heart. It is the book of the Bible that he quotes more than any other. So if you want to be like Jesus, okay, and which I think that's sort of what we're doing here, right? We want to reflect him. We want to look like him. We want to do the things that Jesus did, and we want our lives to look the way that Jesus' life looked. Well, you cannot fully step into what it means to be like Jesus and ignore the Psalms. They were so important. And I remember a time in my life, and it's embarrassing to think back on it. I was talking to another pastor, and I was saying, the Psalms aren't really my thing. I'm not into poetry. There's a lot of whining in there. That's not where I'm coming from, man. I'm all about other stuff, like give me one of Paul's letters and let's talk about theology, or give me like the stories in the Old Testament, but don't ask me to read the Psalms. Give me the Proverbs. The Proverbs are like, do this. If you don't, you're an idiot. Like, give me that, right? And then I had one of those seasons that we've all had if you've been on this planet long enough, where the rug comes out from under you and you don't have the words. Jesus has the words. The words are here when we don't have them. And even Jesus knew that. When he's dying on the cross and screams out, Father, why have you forsaken me? That's a psalm. In his crucifixion, he cries out the words that have been so ingrained into the fabric of his soul over his 30-something years here on this planet as a man. And those prayers at his most desperate times came out of him. And that's what I want for us. So Psalm 130 is the one we'll be in today. It's just 8 verses. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. If you, O Lord, kept a record of sins, O Lord, who could stand? But with you there is forgiveness. Therefore you are feared. I wait for the Lord. My soul waits. And in his word I put my hope. My soul waits for the Lord. More than watchmen wait for the morning. More than watchmen wait for the morning. O Israel, put your hope in the Lord, for with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He himself will redeem Israel from all of their sins. So at its core, this psalm is really a cry for redemption. It seems that Israel has found itself in a difficult place, the nation. And this psalm is written as it's crying out for redemption. And it starts out, I just want to go through it, not completely line by line, but almost line by line. He starts out in verse 1 by saying, out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. And when you hear this word depths in the Old Testament, a lot of times depths has to do with literal, like depths underwater. So you think about like Jonah, or you think about, man, I cry out to you, Lord, not struggling to keep my head above water, but I have been overtaken by these waves. I am under. Okay, I am underwater. It is piling in on top of me. Or maybe the imagery you get is I am trapped in the little cavern and it's too late for me to climb out and the tide is coming in and the water is getting higher and higher and I know that I'm not going to be able to tread very long, right? I am trapped in the depths. And that's where I'm crying out. Sometimes we find ourselves in calamity that we've caused, which very well might be what's going on here with Israel. There were times where they just wouldn't listen and they wouldn't trust that God was all they needed and that he had them and that he was there and he was their father and he was faithful to them. And because of their choices and their decisions, they would find themselves in tough scenarios just like us. But maybe when you hear the depths, it might be circumstantial for you. It might be your health. It might be something that you're dealing with. It might be financial. It might be a relational thing. You might be in the depths of like relational brokenness, and you're like, man, I don't even know I don't even know which direction to start paddling in this relationship. From marriage to friendship to mother, father, daughter, son, sibling, you name it. You might be in the depths. You might be overwhelmed with a burden. You might be overwhelmed with a decision. You might be overwhelmed with regret. You may have done something years ago or recently, and you are overwhelmed. It is the pain and the regret and the guilt is so heavy on you that you're just swimming in it, and you don't know what to do. You feel like you can't lift it. You want it to be lifted. Now, it's interesting. We have a tendency to talk to God in the heights, interact with God, above sea level. But for so many of us, myself included, this is really what kind of resonated with me. Sometimes I don't cry out until the depths. And sometimes I don't even ask for help until the depths, until I realize, oh, I thought I could do this, but I can't, and now I'm desperate, okay? I thought I could figure my way out. I thought I could plan my way out. I thought I could problem solve. I thought I could use helpful tactics and equipping tools to get myself out of this. But now I'm realizing that I've got all the tools and all those extra certifications I did last year to add to my resume, everything I've done, none of that helps right now. I am underwater, and I'm so deep. And that's when we cry out. But listen, we have a tendency to feel guilty about that. It's like, man, you didn't really, it's like I've had to break this habit in my life, but I promise you, when I first got my license, I was a problem out there. I got a lot of tickets, okay? My insurance you can't even mention insurance to my parents to this day when I was first on their insurance. But I mean, it was just bad. I just kind of went, I don't know what the deal was. I had an 87 Blazer. I had no business going that fast, but I was getting that baby up around 85, 90 all the time. And I just would lose track and get pulled over, and I was just a ticket magnet, man. It was like no chance whatsoever of anyone ever giving me mercy. So I would be driving, and I would pass a police officer, and I would immediately go, oh, Jesus, Jesus, please, Jesus, Jesus. Not a continuation of the prayer that I was already enjoying in the car, right? Like whatever I was thinking about, whatever I was doing, whatever was going on, but I would pass the officer, and all of a sudden, strictly for selfish reasons, while I was, violating the rules of the land and going 15, 20 miles per hour over the speed limit, oh, Jesus, 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 please, Jesus, please, Jesus, please, Jesus. Don't let this happen again. I can't go to a driving school again. I can't. It's so boring. It's so boring. I had to go to that twice to get points off my license. Yeah. I drive very slowly now. Okay. Actually, my son drove me here this morning, full circle. Okay. I was like, speed up. No, I'm kidding. So we have this tendency to cry out when we're under water, right? And, we see that as a weakness. I'm not the real deal, man. I'm only crying out right now, I'm fake. Or, God's not hearing this, now you need the Lord of hosts, the all-powerful creator of heaven and earth. Now you need me, now, underwater. No, sink or swim, buddy. That's how we project. But I would argue with you that if you find yourself in the depths, in a sense, I'm not glad you're there, you understand. I don't want you to be there. But in a sense, if something comes alive in you and something wakes up in you that you all of a sudden realize that you need to cry out, you're in a really good place with him. Okay? You're not in a good place, objectively, but you're in a good place with him. It's like the old teacher that when the student finally gives up and stops trying to prove what they know, the teacher says, now your training can begin. Now your teaching can begin. That's how it is when we cry out from the depths, because you can't go any lower, okay? You've hit rock bottom. So this is okay to pray this. I cry out from the depths. I'm rock bottom. I don't have any other choices here. God, you're my last resort. That's embarrassing. I should have called out to you before I jumped into the water, But here I am. I'm at the depths. And God's going, this is great. Come home. It's like the prodigal son. He's coming in. He's making his case. I'll work for you, man. I'll pay this off. Don't worry about it. Everything that I abused and mishandled, and every way that I didn't trust you, and every way that I didn't understand that you were good, and every way that I didn't understand that you were for me and that you were trying to set me up in the right way, and I ran and did my own thing for so long, and now I'm coming back to you desperate. I'm in the depths, but look, here's what I'm going to do. I've got a plan. I'll work here. I'll do this. I'll work for you. I'll sell myself to you so that you can get everything back. Don't worry. And the father just goes, no, man, ring on your finger, coat. Let's get this guy inside. Let's get him cleaned up. He's home. Now we can start. He's ready. He's ready. Okay? So you cry out from the depths. That's okay. Don't feel bad about that. And then he says, "O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy." Okay? That can sound just formal. God, I'm calling out to you. Let your ears hear my voice. But if you really dig into that, can you hear me? God, can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm praying and what I'm asking you for? Because I have come back to you from these depths over and over. Can you hear me? I'm asking you, let your ears hear me. Let your ears be attentive. Do I have your attention? What has your attention? God, I want to bring attention right now to me. I think all of these things are okay to pray. All of these things are okay to pray. Can you pay attention here? You think about like you ever seen like a 1.5, 2-year-old and they're sitting like on grandpa's lap or dad's lap or something, and they're so little they can just kind of stand up and they're still eye to eye. And they at that age, like they want like that attention, right? So they're right here. And like you move and they're like one of those little cobras coming out of the basket. Like they're like, what's going on? I want your attention. Don't look anywhere else, right? So you, terrible example to call your child a cobra, but the grandpa or the dad or whoever, the mom, the grandma will look to the side and the kid will, it's like, hold on, buddy. Like, you're sticking your fingers up my nose. 1 second. Like, what's on your hands? But they're grabbing his face and they just keep, hey, yeah, I'll have that over. Boom, right back. Server comes to the table. Grandpa tries to put an order. Boom, right back. Look at me. Can I have your attention? I want your attention. And God's not like an individual like we are. God's omnipresent, so we can all ask for his attention at the same time. And he's actually capable of doing that. He can give all of us full attention, real time, same time, all over the world, different languages in one moment. So you have every right to do that. Now, I don't want to pray, God, I don't take up too much of your time. There's different people, different places dealing with things. No. When you're in the depths, all that's gone. You're like, look, I don't know what anybody's dealing with. All I know is I'm rock bottom underwater. God, are you listening? I need your attention. Okay? So, oh Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to me. And then, if you, O Lord, kept a record of sins, O Lord, who could stand? But with you there's forgiveness. Therefore you are feared. When you're in this rock bottom season or, a season where you're like, I know that there's more that God has for me, but I'm just on the shelf. What's going on? You're longing, you're praying for something, you're asking him for something. After a while, you're going to start to go, man, did I screw up here? I screwed this up. I messed up. I don't have his attention. I'm at the depths, and I don't have his attention because I messed up. So he's not gonna respond to me. Okay. Now, I read this psalm, and I hear the psalmist reminding himself, wait a minute, he doesn't have a record. Somehow the Psalms knew that Jesus was going to fully wipe the record clean. They just cried out for the cross. I mean, it was all over. If you kept a record, who could stand before you? In other words, who could stand? If you kept a record, we're all just, we have no value. We shouldn't ask you for anything. But I can stand up and make this request because thank goodness you've wiped the record. You don't keep a record of sins. So every time I go into that place of, listen, you may have something that you need to confess. That's good. That's one reason we take communion every week. That'll bring healing. Letting go of unforgiveness will bring healing, and those things can hold you back. But I'm talking about the shame and the guilt and the regret of I've done too many bad things or I haven't done enough good things. Okay? And depending on how you were raised and how you grew up and which sect of Christianity you came out of, or which sect of another religion you came out of, or which sect of culture or how your parents were, or the way you're wired, it's a cocktail mix of all different motivations for how you process why you're not good enough for God to listen to you. But all of that mix needs to be flushed out because it's a lie. Because if he kept a record of sin, who could stand? But with you, there is forgiveness. Therefore, you are feared. Not feared like, oh my gosh, is he going to forgive me? Reverent awe that the God that created everything, that gave the law, that gave his son, that's perfect and holy and righteous and stands in unapproachable light, wipes our record so clean that he brings redemption and forgiveness. And because of that, we have this unbelievable reverence and awe for him because he's had mercy on us at our worst. He runs toward us at our worst. He moves to us. That's the whole story of Scripture. You can know he doesn't, know he doesn't. Read the Scriptures. It's not us moving towards him. It's not us moving towards him. It's him moving towards us over and over and over. You're not trying to get to him. He got to you. Okay? You're not trying to find him. He found you. Okay? He knew you, and he found you, and he called you, and he moved to you. So there's no record of sin, so we can stand. And then it gets into the reality, right? I wait for the Lord. My soul waits. Okay? And in his word, I put my hope. In his word, I put my hope. In his word, like there's word, there's the word, there's scripture. Scripture is important, but the word, if you read John's gospel, it says, the word became flesh and dwelt among us. So to truly put your hope in the word is to put your hope in Jesus. He's the word become flesh. So in your word, I put my hope. In Jesus, I put my hope. And then my soul waits for the Lord. More than watchmen wait for the morning, more than watchmen wait for the morning. I've always thought about these guys like the SEAL 6 team. Anybody a SEAL in here? I want to hang out. Art. These guys are so trained, and they do, when they're out on a mission and they're in a rough area, and this isn't just our military, this is any military, they have watches for the night, especially if they're in a hostile area. So you have to take turns, And I've always thought, man, like, what would I do if I was exhausted? I'm on a mission. I'm out there. It's late. I'm the only one up. It's really important that you stay awake. Imagine being the one that's dozing off and then the enemy comes in and everybody wakes up to being attacked, right? Well, these guys would have been like watchmen watching over the city. So you picture like watchmen waiting for the morning, looking over the city wall. They've got their arrows out, just ready to pull that thing back and let it go. or scream. They had a little horn they would blow to let people know they see the enemy. But can you imagine being on the lookout? Because, the Psalms are kind of written in this tribal time. It was, you read the book of Judges, and a judge was kind of like a God-following warlord. Like there were tribal wars that were happening. People would just get raided in the middle of the night. The world was in no way, shape, or form like it is now. So when you were watching out, you were watching out. Like you were like, my goodness. And there was no, string lights like over the fortress. They didn't have flashlights or anything like that. So you were looking into dark. You ever been in like real dark? Like they were in the dark. And they're looking, and they're looking, and they're looking, and they're like, what was that? What was that? Check it out, check it out. No, you check it out. So they're like waiting to see what's coming. And there's on them, it is on them to not let their people, their community get attacked in the middle of the night. Okay? So you cannot imagine what an unbelievable feeling. I can't imagine what an unbelievable feeling it must have been to see the sun finally, like that first light, break the horizon. And all of a sudden they're like, man, I totally thought that was 4 dudes with an arrow pointed at me. And that was just a bush all night, right? Just a little shrub over there. It looked like 3 dudes until the light was on it. And now I know, oh, that's okay. No one's coming. And if they are, we can see now for miles, right? So the psalmist would have had that angst in their voice here. I am waiting for the light to dawn on this situation. Okay? I am in the dark here, Lord. Okay? What is going on? Give me something more than watchmen wait for the light. That's how much I'm waiting for this breakthrough. Now, here's what's cool. Some of you are starting to see that. Okay? I was texting with somebody the other day, and the text exchange was, the snow's starting to melt, the flowers are starting to bloom, right? Like the season finally is starting to change, okay? The season is finally starting to change. But when you're in that waiting hurts. It hurts. And it's disorienting because in the dark, like, God, give me something. And every now and then you might get like a breadcrumb, like somebody will pray over you or have an encouragement for you, or you'll remember something, or God will show you something in the scriptures, or you'll read something or hear something taught on a Sunday, and you'll go, yes, that's enough. I can take the next step. But you're like, man, I want the morning. I'm ready. I'm ready to see where this is all going, right? So you're waiting, and it's in that waiting that if we're willing to cooperate, there's that song that one of those worship teams put out. It might have been from Bethel, I don't know. But it's the song says, he's in the waiting, okay? He's in the waiting, okay? But you have to acknowledge that, and you have to cooperate with that. You have to acknowledge that he's there with you, and you have to stop telling God, here's a few options, God, for how you can get me out. Okay? God, I've really done some work on this. I've got a presentation. ChatGPT, help me put it together. It's going to be good, okay? And you switch to, God, what are you doing in this season? What are you doing in me? Okay? I'm obviously not in a season of high productivity. I'm in a season of preparation. And that's the switch. You have to realize when you're waiting, it's not about what you're producing. Not that you're not doing anything, but it's not about what you're producing, but it's about some sort of preparation that he's doing in your heart. Okay? He's preparing you. He's working in you. And you have to cooperate with that and ask him, what is he doing? And then, O Israel, put your hope in the Lord, for with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He himself will redeem Israel from all of their sins. You'll notice in the Psalms that there's always like this orienting of what's going on, oftentimes. And then the Psalm will sort of go into this deorientation of like, what is, it's ambiguous. And then the psalmist will come back out with the hope and the truth moving forward. Okay? It's like then they remind themselves this is the hope and the truth. But keep your hope in the Lord, Israel, because with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. That's written not from a place of full redemption. Like he didn't wait and write verses 7 and 8 after the full redemption. The psalm was written. So it's a prayer, it's a longing, it's a profession of faith, it's believing, it's speaking truth, reminding yourself of truth, not letting yourself go in. You might be in the depths literally, but not letting yourself go into the depths spiritually and emotionally. Not letting yourself give up, not letting yourself lay down. It's learning that God's going to come through. And if I die, I'm going to die waiting for him to come through. I'm going to die expecting for him to come through. And the joy that we have in Christianity, one thing that's just so beautiful and unique about our religion is that after we die, it gets better. Because there's a full resurrection and there's eternity with him. So we're expecting full redemption either way, but we're asking and longing and praying that we're going to taste it, at least in a glimpse, at least a piece of it here and now. Okay? So this is a prayer. You can pray this. I'm in a tough season, Jared. I don't know how to pray. Right here, you can pray this. You can pray this all week long, and you can ask that God would begin to shape you. And you know what will happen? This began to happen to me over time with the Psalms, is they'll begin to, as Bonhoeffer would say, the Psalms pray for us. Okay, they'll begin to pray for you. So you'll find yourself in a tough moment, and you'll without even realizing it, you'll say, man, God, my soul is waiting, but in your word I put my hope. It'll come out. And that's good. Because from an abundance of your heart now, it's overflowing, right? It's overflowing. You've put it in there, and it's coming out. And those are good. The words of the Psalms, you want those to come out of you, just like they did Jesus. You want to speak them in the moments where you need them.